Most UK investors overcomplicate this. Jumping between strategies and looking at average results kind of stops people from getting into any sort of rhythm, and there's a step-by-step process. But there is genuinely things that work out there, and I know I'm going to add the context to it, and I know it's a bit wishy-washy when you talk about, oh, you can put £200 a month in and make money. Yeah, I know, I get it. Psychologically, people don't want to do that and may well fail, but there is a method to the madness, and it is easier than you think. And in this video, for the UK person, I'm going to show you what you need to do. Even if you do most of these, you're going to be ahead of most people. And if you like this sort of thing, slap a like, please. And let me know in the comments, do you have a stocks and shares ISA? Which is the first point. Because over 10 years of me investing, right, the stocks and shares ISA has changed massively. There's still only 15% of adults in the UK that actually use the bloody things. But this is the thing. People have too many of them, too many different investment accounts or brokers. They have too much noise, too many trades, and they don't know what they're actually doing. You need to simplify it massively and have one stocks and shares ISA. You then aim to fill it and you utilize that alone for tax-free gains for obvious reasons, and more importantly, just a way of having a habit. And normally, most people who win with anything in life is through simplicity, repetition, consistency, time. We all know the drill here. Now, the first thing you need to worry about is the setup. I've already alluded to it. Get a stocks and shares ISA. We have 5 days to fill it for this tax year, by the way, if you've got 20 grand laying around, just saying. But ultimately, your banks have them. Monzo, for example, it's a pretty good platform, actually. You've also got like a trading 2-on-2. They're literally everywhere, right? But the reason why they're not used is because people don't want to invest. I get it. In the UK, we don't want to invest. But tax-free growth, great. Tax-free dividends, brilliant. And your main investment engine needs to be in one of these, not a general investing account. There is no difference between them other than the fact that you're getting the obvious tax benefits. Some people go to me, but a general investing account, you get more. You don't. That is the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard in my life. Now, I'm probably the worst person to talk to about workplace pensions, but I'm going to mention anyways. I obviously don't work for anyone other than myself, but a workplace pension is the next bit you need to figure out, because there are so many people, and my brain died the other day when I was on X when people were talking about pensions, and there was a lot of people that realistically do confuse a workplace pension to the state pension. What? So basically, long story short, your employer will contribute to it. You also contribute to it with your pay, right? So say, for example, you're earning a salary, you may see on your pension or on your payslip, sorry, under pension, like 75 quid gone. Where's that gone? And then you'll find out, well, actually, my company may be putting 50 quid in towards that, or a certain percentage level within that. If you're not using that, and if you've worked for a company for like 10 years, you are literally leaving money on the table. And the thing is, and I've already talked about this in other videos, you can take that workplace pension if you leave your job, if you so wish to, or whatever, and you can move it. Even as a here, changing jobs, all the information, you can take it, you can swap it, you can do fucking everything you want with it and have full control, and you've got the money. Brilliant. It's free money. Your employer is giving you it. I don't get it. I don't understand why people don't do it. And the next little setup is obviously, yes, self-investment, personal pension, a SIP. You have more control, you have tax relief and long-term compounding. If you want to put more money into places, you can plonk it into here. 60 grand is the limit here. Yes, it's locked till 57 or whatever. It might be 75 by the time we bloody retire. At this rate, the way it's fucking going, I don't know, that's the debate for the state pension. We're not going to talk about state pensions. But this is also in the same way. It is in the market, managed for you. There is more fees, obviously. But in terms of wealth creation, I see it very, very, very clearly. Most people go, invest in general investing account, forgetting about the obvious. There's so much out there, honestly, it's unbelievable. But the thing is here, most people don't need more accounts. They just need those 3 things realistically working. And as I say, you may not want to have a SIP if you've got a good workplace pension, but as I've alluded to in previous videos, you can move it and put it into a SIP. You have that money, and then it is released later on when you're older. Now, you're probably wondering, what on earth do I invest in? Well, it's quite simple, really. You probably want to focus on ETFs. Now, if you do have a SIP or a certain type of ISA, you may find that a lot of it can be done for you. There's managed accounts for you, which have higher fees. But for me, I built a tool. This is on my website. Go to the link below. You can jump in this for free, the ETF screener, but it does have an amazing overlap tool, which is one thing that people forget about. So long story short, this will basically point you in the direction of where you need to be in terms of highlighting the high costs, highlighting certain funds. So for example, if you're looking at the S&P 500, it'll give you some information. Is it beginner friendly? Is it popular? What sort of kind of average returns you get? Where do you get the official yield from and the information, but also the concentration? That's it, simple. Most people fuck this up completely because they have far too many ETFs. That's the thing. Simplicity wins, lower cost wins, broad exposure also wins, right? Most people stick, oh, I'm going to go into the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the All World Fund, and I'm 100% American. Yay! No, that doesn't work out very well sometimes. Obviously, we know what happens with the markets. The key point, as I've alluded to it, you need to be set and forget on certain things, but be 100% sure what you're buying. And that doesn't mean going to the comment section and go, Ash, what should I buy? Or email me, what should I buy? Because I can't tell you realistically, but I can provide you a tool that will help you make a better decision. Because far too many people have at least 5. And yeah, you can have 5, but make sure they're all done correctly. But don't have 10. Jesus Christ. But this is the thing, right? I've just put in a lot of random ones. I put, the FTSE in here, I put the S&P, I put the Nasdaq, whatever. There's a lot of overlap, as you can see. 3 of them, or quite a lot of stocks have 3. They're in 3 basically, right? So there's a massive overlap here. You don't want that. You don't want to have a huge overlap, or you're going to get big problems, and especially if the market crumbles, because your combined weight of Apple is quite a lot. You might as well just buy the bloody stock. So stuff like that, it will tell you what's happening and what the percentages are of each entire fund. Obviously, the random one here is obviously the FTSE 100, but they still do appear in certain ones because some of them are quite top stocks. So yeah, keep your eyes open, have a little look, do your research, and just keep it super simple. Now, the next part, and this is optional, you don't have to do this, and I know many people do like to do this, buying strong businesses. Oh my God, how do I need to say that? Because there seems to be this kind of little bit of a problem certainly in the investing world, that businesses that pay a dividend are crap because they're not reinvesting into the company. Strong businesses with consistent profits that pay a dividend, that grow their dividends over time to shareholders, is actually what you want to look for. And I know I shouldn't be saying that, but it should be what doesn't make sense, right? Why would you not want to go to a strike? Even in life, right? You will always go to the best. That just is. If a company isn't growing and not paying you, it's going to reflect in the price. Why would you want to invest in it, right? So flip it the other way. If a company is growing, paying you, and you're not investing it, question yourself why. But the thing is, with the likes of companies, people overthink it. Just look for the obvious. If a company is well backed, if they're around all the time, and if you can tangibly go and see it or go inside it or whatever, and you know about it, it's probably quite strong anyways. I mean, you will know the red flags quite obviously. If you're going to go into a certain, I don't know, shop in town, you're not going to, but certain things you probably will. You've got to think, what does the normal person want, need, require? Now, the real thing is time. This is a thing. We can go on the calculator, right, all we want. And I'm going to say it now. These obviously compound in here. But you will fail if you don't put the work in. If you do not think every single month, I need to do something, right? And I need to do this for a long time. Because time, the return, and obviously your money is going to be quite important here. Realistically, that's kind of the compound effect, really. So even when we look at this, most people focus on, I think, returns. I want to make 100x or 100 times my money buying Bitcoin, which I did. I was quite lucky, I know. But they will try and do that with an AI stock or gold or something that's already ran. That doesn't make sense. The real advantage when you're buying solid companies or ETFs is time. They should be the foundation layer. And then, yes, if you want to put a little percentage of your portfolio into something a bit more growthy, go for it. Give it a go. But that doesn't mean all of it, because you could get it wrong. Because even if you are starting with, say, £15,000, right, randomly, and let's just say you are quite wealthy and you've got 500 quid a month you can plonk away, with an average growth rate of 7%, let's just look at a time horizon of 25 years. Let's just say dividend yield's a little bit lower because obviously you may be going more growth side of it. Let's just turn cash savings a bit lower as well. And you reinvest the dividends, and we'll adjust it for inflation as well. Over that time period, like 25 years, it's actually quite a good number. And that is going to tell you quite quickly that you've made a good amount of money based off 25 years. Better than, as you can see here, sitting in the bank of total savings. There's a massive, massive difference in terms of value. The thing is, though, the dividends and stuff like that will obviously change over time as you develop and change your portfolio, right? That's the whole point. But overall, that is potentially tax-free money. And I know it's all fucking he, she, coulda, woulda, shoulda, butta, what, I don't know, right? You get the idea, right? But ultimately, it could become a situation where if you are ignoring the noise and you're letting it grow and you're letting that consistency beat the intelligence of trying to beat the market, well, actually, you're doing well. Because even with what I said before, with a stocks and shares ISA or a SIP or a workplace pension, if you are putting £100 in every single month and your employer, for example, is plonking some money in and it is in a normal general fund with lower risk and you are getting that 5 to 6% growth on top of your money, on top of everything else, it's money that will be just sat there for you to go and randomly collect it. That's the thing. Most people, and I'm going to say it, get rich accidentally from having a good workplace pension or a good SIP management or a good ISA in terms of moving forward because they just let it do its thing. Trading 2-on-2 is a good example of this. It is very much geared for you to spend money. This is how they work. They make money on interest. They make it on the commission of the trade and ultimately cash sitting or investment sitting with overnight fees on CFD. The strategy isn't hard if you stick to it and you keep it simple. Most of this platform, for example, here, as you know, is all designed to get you in. Oh, look at the top ones. Why is it always the top? Why is it never the most undervalued? Why is it never the most up to date sort of like data around the P&E ratio? It isn't. It's always about market capitalization because people in their brains are always like, well, it's doing well. It's vindication that it's a good stock. I'm going to buy it, for example, right? Look at how, for example, Google, I mean, should show you Google, for example, a couple of weeks ago was the best thing since sliced bread. If we go on the early chart, you can see we were doing really well. And a lot of people I remember it, talking about Google, all-time highs, everyone should buy Google. And now it's obviously taken a jump off a cliff. That's the thing. You've got to look at the obvious, which is usually risk management. Am I buying at the right times? Should I buy it? Why didn't I buy it earlier, sort of thing. But in all honesty, you need to keep it super simple. Using the ISA platforms, a SIP or your workplace pension, which will keep you invested and without the penalties of tax. Kind of ish, I know. When you reduce your pension, you will get taxed, but that's different. You do get tax relief if you are putting money in on your SIP. And if you want genuine help, go to my website. It's free to use. All the stuff that I showcase is free to use. I do have a newsletter. If you are a member, you will get that on a Tuesday morning. There's other bits and pieces coming. There's a free course there. There's all kinds of stuff getting built in the background. Go and improve your portfolio. Check the overlaps, for example. And that's us done. If you're not yet done so, watch this video. It's about ETFs and why UK people fail with those. Watch it. It's a good video. And if you're not yet done so, please do subscribe, like the video, and let me know. Do you have a stocks and shares ISA? I want to know.